Welcome to the second webinar of CineConf, powered by IMAX in association with TheatreWorld and Network 208. In today's topic, we shall discuss about recalibration, maintenance of cinema AUDI, projection booth equipment, workflow, post-lockdown. So it's everything related to the auditorium equipments or the projection booth equipments. For this conversation, we have got four people here from different sectors. So we have Mr. K.M. Suryanarayanan. So he's shortly called Suri in the industry. He's from Qube Cinema. Mr. Suri is a passionate designer of sound and audiovisual related space. Post his graduation from Film Institute of Tamil Nadu in 1989, he started his career in sound recording and engineering and has won a national award for the best sound. Suri heads an experienced design team at Qube Design Cell. Hi, Mr. Suri. Our next speaker will be Mr. Ilam Sekar, based out of India, joined Christie in year 2010 and he is holding Technical Manager India for Cinema Divisions. Ilam has been involved in the enterprise cinema entertainment business since 2006. Earlier, Ilam was leading technical support department at Prasad Studios Mumbai division. And our third speaker is Mrs. Siranush Whyte. Siranush works for Galalite Screens as General Manager for Business Development. She has joined Galalite in 2016. This is her first company in the entertainment industry. At Galalite, she takes care of both domestic and international market. And our fourth panelist is Mr. Anmol Kashmiri. Anmol is a partner in Penworkers Seating Co. Penworkers is a family-run company. It is working since 96 years. Anmol is the fourth generation and is actively involved in marketing for the company since 1989 and has over 30 years experience of the cinema industry. The focus going forward is to get innovative seating technology to Indian market by working with select world companies. So I welcome all the four speakers. So before I proceed, I wanted to share you something from my website. So this is the last time we had the big screen entertainment webinar. And today's webinar will come up here by tomorrow. And this is something called useful links. So useful links are something where the speaker wanted to share some documents. Like Qube, they wanted to share some cinema equipment maintenance. And Penworkers wanted to share some seating layout. And Galalite wanted to show some cleaning and maintenance. And Christie wanted to share some safety tips. So all this there under our useful links menu. So let me start with Mr. Suri. Mr. Suri, can you explain briefly about the electrical and audio equipment maintenance in the auditorium?
Yeah. Good evening to all. Basically, to see the electrical point of view, first thing is what it is you need to take care of the things which is being like, the panel boards, the earth pits, UPS, all these things. First thing is the earth pit. If the earth pit is very dry and it'll be very inefficient and you'll not get the proper voltages between the neutral and earth point, which is supposed to be between 0.2 and maximum 1 volt. So earth pit has to be wet. So you need to pour some water into the wet earth pit and keep it wet. The second thing is, before switching on any equipment or anything, you just need to check the panels. The panels are the ones which is most vulnerable because basically all the rats and other insects in some of the rural areas, there might be even snakes. So you might need to take care of that. First thing is just check all the panels so that the panels are clear and there is no rat biting the cables and things like that. So that is something which you need to take care of it fully. And next thing is when it comes to checking the power, I'm sure that your electricians will know how to go step by step in terms of switching on the power and checking each and every circuit and things like that. The third thing is checking on the UPS part. Before switching on the UPS, you make sure all the batteries of the UPS are in proper condition. If it is lead acid batteries, you might need to check for acid and water maintenance and things like that. If it's a maintenance-free batteries, please check whether there is any abnormalities in the batteries. Even there also you need to check for any of the rat or any of the insects being urinated or anything. So that has to be taken care. Then afterwards, before switching on the UPS, you need to switch off the battery connectivities and then switch on the UPS. Make sure that before switching on the UPS, you check for all these rat infections and things like that within the UPS system also. So that is one thing which will take care of many things, because UPS you cannot just like that switch on and then find out that there's something else which is wrong because of the rat infection or anything. So because basically if UPS is not coming on, you cannot check any other equipment. So while switching on the UPS, you have to be 100% sure you have checked everything physically, make sure everything is done correctly, and then switch on the UPS. After switching on the UPS, give a little bit of time and then connect the batteries or switch on the battery connectivity. So leave that for some time, like for probably 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours for the batteries to charge up and come to a condition where you can give the output power. So that is on the UPS part of it. Then if you see the lighting part of it, please make sure that the lighting circuits are in proper conditions, like rat bites are not there and everything, because that is also very important before switching on your equipment and like that. So because some of the places the emergency lights will be connected to the UPS, and while you're checking the equipment and the UPS is on, and somebody goes and switches on the lighting connectivity, and because of any short circuit, if the whole UPS comes down, the entire system will come down, and that might cause you problems. So that is something which you need to take care. In the UPS circuit, check everything possible and then come to the equipment switching. Before that, don't come to the equipment switching on. Then make sure this time you seal all the conduits and other things before, because you might even leave it, if the lockdown extends or something like that, after checking you might leave it there or something like that. So once checked, make sure all the conduits are all sealed so that none of the rats or any other insects or reptiles can go inside the conduits and things like that. So that you can take care of it.
Next, let us move to Mr. Ilam for the projection.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is safe and healthy. It's been a pleasure and honor to be a part of this webinar conducted by TheatreWorld. And I thank Mr. Raghav for doing this webinar, which is more essential now during the crisis. As Raghav said, everything will be normal and we'll be doing the business again. And here I will be representing the projector systems, tips and tricks, how we are going to switch on once the pandemic is lifted. As far as concerned for the projection systems, I would categorize into three ways. Number one, for pre-site check. Number two, production evaluation. And third is post-performance check. I would thank Mr. Suri. He has covered many things in pre-site check, which is like UPS power, projector, power terminals, sockets, and everything, air pit, and everything has been covered. I would like to add one point here when we are asking the electrical engineer to have you check this and to make sure that his documents in the cloud or some document in the theater itself, so that we can know that this has been tested. Post that, I would like to make sure that HVACs are good to power on and make sure that the optimal cooling system has been made in the theater. The one who is not having HVAC systems may have to check the independent air conditioner with the help of local technician. And if everything is tested 100% confirmed and completed, I would go for product evaluation. The product evaluation, when I say product evaluation, it applies for the audio and video equipments. As far as concerned for the video equipment, which is projector for illumination and reflecting system, light system, which we call it as a projector, performance remains same for all xenon and laser projector systems. But a working principle and engineering being on that as it changes. Therefore, I would pay more attention to each generation to know the best practice on that. You guys must be knowing it and then following all the internet forums. Most of the manufacturers have released the best practice and recommendations. As Raghav said, he has shared a few precautions, the best practice on his website, which can be downloaded. Here I will be briefing and knowledge which will be benefited for you guys. We'll start from the beginning. For Series 1, the projectors are installed with the Texas Instruments secure board, which will be holding a small battery in it, tiny battery, and most likely the same with the Series 2. We call it as an ICP, Integrated Cinema Processor Board. Therefore, it's a projector more than 5 years old. What we have to do is we have to start replacing those batteries as per respective manufacturer recommendation. In case it followed as per PM schedules, then I would double check the existing document on the PM whether this has been done or not. It is more essential to check the projector systems kept off for longer time, and then perform a thorough preventive maintenance check for the projectors, and such as projector cooling leakages, air filters qualities, general environment, and is there anything we have to pay attention on insects inside of the projector, as Mr. Surik addressed. Secondly, I would check the input terminal block on the projector side. If you see the projector, some projectors has an input terminal block which has 3 connectors for single phase and then 3 phases, and then mostly we have to check whether these electrical connections are as per standard and connected well. For more information, you can refer the respective manuals for the manufacturer, setup and installation manual, so we can come to know the more information about it. And all we have to check is the potential between the phase and neutral to ground. If this has been certified by the electrician, electrical engineer, then we are good to go and power on the equipment. But we have to keep one thing in mind, that the HVAC systems and air conditioner are made as per the standards. So you can refer more information on the how to power up the projectors on our websites. Post performance check, I would ask the projector to switch on by the trained operator, where he can just go on power up and then do the routine check by playing back and checking the video and audio. A consideration of audio system should be paid, which will be spoke by Mr. Suri on the further conversation. In case if you guys face any challenges, I would encourage to contact service providers to know more about it, like what need to be done, like it need to be done in RMA or it need to be done any product evaluation, other stuffs. The recommendation what I can give last to the projectionist, make sure there is no moisture accumulation on the projector, inner and outer, and make sure the lamp optimization has been done. And to engineers, weekly walkthrough through remote if you have an internet connection established with the theater, and make sure that the projector health condition is good if you kept it on. Otherwise, you can do when you are powering on to check all the checklists, whatever I said in the beginning. At the same time, you have to pay more attention on the lamp side. As soon as the projector is powered on, you have to instruct the operators to do a lamp alignment as well as the color calibrations. The color calibration is more needed because the projector is kept off for longer time and you have to optimize the lamps. Once you optimize the lamp, the calibration is needed, so you have to do it. It applies to the all model. Thank you very much. Over to Raghav.
Thank you, Ilam. Yeah, let us go back to Mr. Suri with regards to air conditioner and fire system.
In terms of power itself, one thing which I forgot to mention is the generator. You need to check the generator as well for proper functioning and things like that. Moreover, that in terms of safety of the fire safety, there will be water tanks, water pipes, pumps. All those things have to be addressed in such a way that you take out all the water, you pump out all the water, make sure all the existing water is emptied, and then sanitize the whole system and then refill the water. That's something which you need to take. And then also you need to check the fire detector units, the alarms, the panels, once again, the fire panels, all those things you need to check. And then you might need to check the portable ones, which is kept in several places. So all those fire systems you need to check in terms of proper functionality and things like that. Then air conditioning system. Air conditioning system is like you need to do a physical check on the entire system, coming from the chillers or the compressor units to the air handling units. You need to take the filters, you need to clean it up properly, and then make sure that there also there is no rats, infestations, and things like that which is there, and make sure that none of the fungus is formed there. If there is any fungus which is formed in the air conditioning system, please make sure that it has been cleaned very well properly and taken care in terms of hygiene. The third thing is there will be water sumps for the air conditioning, water sumps for the air conditioning systems, where you need to regulate water for the chillers and things like that. All those water has to be completely drained, cleaned properly, and then refilled with fresh water. In terms of air conditioning system, before switching on the air conditioning system, once again, please check the panels, which is the power panels for the air conditioning system. So that also would need to be checked. In terms of cassette units and high wall units, please make sure that the filters are completely washed and reused. Make sure that the system is completely working fine before switching on any equipment inside the equipment room, so that the systems, when switched on, it has got the temperature, correct temperature, like what Ilam had mentioned. Firefighting system. Over to next person, Raghav.
So what about the firefighting systems?
That's what I said. The firefighting system has got pipes and overhead tanks and sumps, those have to be cleaned properly. And then they have to drain out all the entire water and refill the water for the system completely. And then once again, the fire panels have to be checked. That's what I said. The fire panels have to be checked physically, and then power up and check the fire panels whether it's working properly. The detectors, basically you need to check, recheck on the detectors and things like that. So that's about in terms of fire system. And run a dry run testing. You have to do a dry run testing for the system and check all those things. So sprinklers, smoke detectors, handheld firefighting equipment, all these things have to be in place properly, so that you need to check for their functionality.
Let us move to Ms. Siranush with regards to the cinema screen maintenance.
Thank you, Raghav. Good evening, everyone. After listening to my industry colleagues, I've understood that the cinema screen is the easiest to maintain, as it doesn't have any electrical, mechanical, or moving parts. At the same time, having said that, you have to pay attention that the cinema screen is not damaged during the lockdown, because 90% of the time your audience will be looking at the cinema screen. So it's very important that you have spotless screen after the cinemas reopen. General recommendations will be during the lockdown to air the auditorium as regularly as possible, to make sure the auditorium is dry. There is no humidity built up in the auditorium. And if possible, we will recommend to run the projector for an hour on daily basis or maybe on alternate basis, so that the heat from the projector will make sure that there is no moisture built up on the screen surface. Now, this recommendation will depend on the accessibility of the cinema owners or cinema chains to their cinema locations. So accordingly, you can plan and get it done. We will also recommend to do general maintenance and screen cleaning after the cinemas reopened. So first thing you need to do, you need to project a bright light on the cinema screen and thoroughly check for stains, marks, or any spots. If you can see any spots or stains or marks by naked eye, I would recommend to contact any cinema screen company, any manufacturer, or any professional expert for further action. If the screen looks fine, you can proceed ahead with the general cleaning and the maintenance of the screen. Now, we will recommend to start the cleaning of the screen from the back portion. This is usually the part which is neglected many times, and sometimes you can find the heavy dust built up in the back portion of the screen. So what you need to clean first is the speakers which are behind the screen. We will not recommend to use any blower, so that you will blow off the dust from the speakers and it will settle on the screen. Would recommend to clean it with a wet cloth, then cover up the speakers and clean the back portion of the screen. So back portion of the screen you can clean with the vacuum cleaner or with the wet cloth, again according to the availability and of course the size of the screen. After cleaning the front portion, you can proceed ahead and clean the front portion of the screen. Now, front portion of the screen, the method of the cleaning will depend totally on the type of the screen which you have in your auditorium. Broadly, we can divide the screens into non-coated and coated screens. Non-coated screens, as we can say matte whites, cleaning can be done with a wet cloth. But before cleaning with a wet cloth, I would suggest to dust the screen so that it will help you and ease the cleaning process and will shorten up significantly. So the non-coated screens can be cleaned with a wet cloth. If the screen is dirtier than usual, you can even use very mild soap. Once you finish cleaning with wet cloth, you will have to wipe the screen once again with a dry, clean cloth. You do not want the excess water which is there on the screen after cleaning with wet cloth to dry off on its own. You will need to dry off with a dry and clean cloth. please make sure that every time you're filling the screen, your cloth is very well rinsed and washed and you have a clean cloth. You do not want to wipe off the screen with a dirty cloth. And of course, we recommend to use gloves. Definitely nobody wants any fingerprints or any fingernail scratches on the screen surface. Once you're done with it, you just need to check the screen. You can project the light and check on how it was different from the before the screen you cleaned it. The second part of the screen, the coating screens, we always recommend to use dry process. Dry cleaning method is recommended because the coating screens have very sophisticated and delicate coating on them. When I say delicate, I don't mean just, if you just touch the screen and the coating will come off. No, actually we have worked hard so that we will have most resistant coating is possible. But when I say delicate, I mean to say when you use wet process, wet method to clean the coating screen, the coating in a way that the reflectivity and even the reflectivity of the light as you project light on the screen. So as I said, coating recommended you can just use telescopic pole and microfiber cloth attached to it. You need to dust it from top to bottom. Make sure you dust off the cloth every time you clean the screen after each stroke. And if you feel the cloth is dirty, you can change the cloth and use new and clean cloth. These are some general recommendations. And if you need any detailed instructions on cleaning, or God forbid, if your screen was damaged during the lockdown, please contact back to you, Raghav.
Thank you, Siranush. Siranush, I just wanted to understand the process. What you told, it can go for any screen, the plain, the perforated, or the silver screen, anything.
No, the wet method, cleaning with the wet cloth, can be done for non-coating screens, which are matte whites usually. There is no coating on them. The dry method is recommended for coating screens. It can be fluorescent coating, can be silver coating, any coating. But if there is coating, the wet method is not recommended. We do not recommend the dry process of cleaning. The perforation doesn't matter. Yes, the screens they have stickers behind, they will have perforation.
Thank you, Siranush. We'll again move back to Mr. Suri with regards to the box office and IT.
Yes, in terms of box office, probably one should look at, to see if we can minimize, human contacts and things like that, or see how people can take their tickets or electronically get their tickets on their mobile phone and things like that, rather than giving physical tickets and things like that. One more thing is, instead of having a big window or open space where people are coming in close contacts, it can be the glass mask with a small slit at the bottom, which has got the microphone and speaker in such a way that there's no physical contact between the two people in terms of breath exchange or any spit which goes on top of on the face or something like that. So that can be avoided. This is something which most of the box offices don't have these days. That can be looked into, where a glass piece is kept in front of the box office, so that between the ticket issuer and the client, both will have isolation, and it will be an electronic connect only between the two people. So that is one thing which I would look for the box office, and also make sure that there is enough distance between the ticket vendor and the client who's getting the tickets. So that is something which needs to be taken care in terms of safety precautions at this point of time. for the box office. And one more thing, this is a time where, as Mr. Kiran said in the last webinar, where they can look at upgrading the equipment in terms of box office. That's for box office. And IT, that is something very broad in terms of you need to take care of the security systems, you need to take care of connectivities, and you need to take care of content storage, ingest, and all those things, whether everything is in place and things like that. So once when you look into IT, once again, it's the same kind of thing which you need to take care. You need to do a physical check before switching on your IT server rack. You need to take care of whether any wires have been bitten by the rats or what exactly has happened there in terms of physical connectivity and things like that. Once if everything is fine, then you can switch on the rack, or otherwise it's not recommended to switch on the rack without physically checking everything, and also having the UPS power in place properly. And your ACs in place. So once when you have your AC, your UPS power, and physical check done in terms of connectivities, and all the panels, the incoming power panels, and your distribution power panels in terms of IT distribution power panels, your network switch and things like that, all those have to be checked properly before you switch on your IT servers and things like that. And also you might need to check your VSAT connectivity, your other security connectivities, where your attendance check, or otherwise your access points, your cameras, all these things have to be checked when you switch on the system. That is in terms of IT.
So moving forward, I think the ticketless entry should be the better option for all the cinemas.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of if somebody wants to pay money, they have to pay money electronically. Somebody has to get their tickets, they have to get their tickets electronically. Even if they have to come to the theater and stand in a counter and ask for tickets, that is how it has to be done, rather than giving physical tickets and things like that.
Right. Thank you, sir. Let us move to Mr. Anmol Kashmiri of Pen Workers, of something on the seating side. Over to you, Anmol.
Thanks, Raghav. Thank you, Raghav. I hope the audio is clear. Firstly, thanks to all the other members who have come and contributed their valuable technical inputs. I always thought my seating industry was very complicated, but hearing from the other co-members, I find that they are as much as the industry for projection or sound or even screens is as difficult as ours. Coming to the aspect of, firstly, Raghav, once again, it's a great thing you're doing. Everybody is sitting, and this is something where everybody is very excited to get into it. It adds a lot of value. We have not much work to do, so this is something we all look forward for. Well done. Hats off to you. You always have been innovative. Coming to the chair part, it's important that the cinema owners, first and foremost, is before the opening of the cinema, it is very critical that the cinema owners should open the doors, the auditorium doors, because otherwise there would be a moisture content inside the cinema. There would be some fungus on the recliner seats, because some of the operators or even single screen cinemas have leather on the recliner seats. So leather has a propensity to have fungus if kept in a moisture condition. So it's very important that in the process of this 45, 60 days, whatever the lockdown goes for, the doors of the auditorium should be open so that there is some ventilation happening. Furthermore, it's equally important that if there is a layer of fungus, it should be properly removed with the help of some soap water. It can also just be vacuum cleaned after some time. Notwithstanding that, if it's possible to put dehumidifiers so that the humidity content can be removed, if it's possible to have something like a silica gel, so that the moisture content, because moisture would also affect fabric, the side paneling, the seat fabric, all these issues. It's going to be a lockdown. It's been shut for 45 days, 60 days, whatever. So it's very important that these aspects in the course of the lockdown are taken care of. The other problem is that at time of lockdown, because lockdown was announced almost instantly, it's possible that the last show, the cleanliness may not have taken place. So it's very important that the auditorium is properly cleaned. Otherwise, we would have a huge problem of rats. It's a big problem. It's a big nuisance. Rats would damage the wire of the recliners. It would damage the fabric. It would damage the leather. It could damage the paneling. It's a big problem. So it's very important that they should have cleaned the particular auditorium very, very nicely. Notwithstanding that, there is a suggestion that yes, the seats have to be sanitized, which is very, very important. But it's important to try to sanitize the seats with a non-alcohol based sanitizer. We all understand that alcohol has a propensity for a fire hazard. If there is an alcohol layer on the fabric or the leather when you are cleaning it, when you are sanitizing it prior to opening, during the course of the cinema, the idea should be to try to use a non-FR sanitizer. So that if there is, because alcohol has a fire tendency, nobody wants another hazard after a COVID hazard. So it's very, very critical that we go ahead and use a non-alcohol but equally strong sanitizer. Oiling of the seats is very critical. This is the best time. If the housekeeping team is free, they should oil the seats, oil the recliners, retighten the nuts and bolts. This is the best time. Everybody is free. They have enough time. They should individually check the rocking of the seats in case the spring has gone bad, or in case the rubber has gone bad. So all these precautions are the best to be taken now. So this is what we are discussing, referring to post-opening. Now, after the opening also, it's very important to maintain social distancing. So if I can just share some, share some images that we have done. So beginning with this, Raghav, can I do that now? Raghav?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you, Raghav. So we are beginning with social distancing. After giving you an idea about cleanliness by dehumidifier, silica gel, we are now coming on to what should be done post-opening, right? So I am just giving an idea of what we have envisaged in these last few days. So so this is a layout, a standard layout which we thought would lead to social distancing. As you see, there are a set of couple seats. Then there is also a blank for 4 seats to maintain the social distancing norms. The rows behind are also empty in order to keep the minimum distance required. So this is the way one can redo the layout and ensure that the possibility of the virus spreading is limited. So another option, the various options, so it all depends upon what the cinema owner would want. Another option is a layout like this. If you see, the black color are the ones which are not to be sold. The gray are the ones which are to be sold. So you see, after every 2 grays, we have 1 black. And in front and rear of every gray, we have a black. So this is another way which the owners can redo the layouts and see to it that there is proper social distancing maintained in order to minimize the spread of the virus. Another option would be that after every show, as you see in the layout which has just come, after every show, one can alter the situation or the position where a patron is sitting, which means hypothetically the morning show can be all greens. Thereafter, the afternoon show can be all blues. Thereafter, the evening show can be all oranges and the night show can be all pinks. By doing this, you are minimizing the spread of the virus, because it's possible that if nobody touches the most common area where the virus can spread, of course, is the armrest, because it's a common armrest shared between two people. So by rotating the number of the position of patrons, we are trying to minimize the spread of the virus. Going further, there is also an option to have an enclosure panel. As you see, after every 2 seats, we have one enclosure panel. So this means that if somebody coughs, at least the spit or the cough or the sneeze would not move left or right because of the enclosure panels. So this can come in how we call as a couple seat, or it can come in what we call as a independent seat, depending upon the multiplex operator's choice on how he or how they feel they would want to design the layout. As you see, the armrest is all blocked so that the possibility of the virus spreading through touch of the arms, which is the maximum used area in any cinema, is minimized. Going forward, so these are various options. As I said, a double seat, a single seat, in a pushback option, non-pushback option, tip-up option, rocking back options. This again comes back to an independent option, as you see here. So this is some of the points which we feel would the precautions which somebody should take going forward, pre-opening, that's prior to them opening, and also post-opening. So this more or less gives an idea to the cinema hall owner as to what he should do. So these are some of the points that we had worked out, Raghav, which we felt would add value to any cinema hall owner. Back to you, Raghav.
Thank you, Anmol. It was a nice presentation.
Thank you, Raghav. Thank you so much for giving us a chance.
So let us move to something out of the auditorium, that is the external space of the auditorium. Before that, I wanted to show a video. The video what I showed is something called temperature gate. So when people are entering the cinemas, the temperatures are checked automatically in the gate. Over to you, Mr. Suri, with regard to the exterior of the auditorium and other parts of the cinemas.
Fine, that's, I need to cover the audio equipment part of it. As far as the audio equipment is concerned, physical check is very important because you are checking the speakers directly. Basically, behind the screen, all the speakers you need to check for stage speakers, surround subwoofers. Basically, the subwoofers are at the floor level. So this is highly likely for the rodents or the rats to just go and bite off the cone papers and things like that. So you need to do that check thoroughly before switching on the equipment, switching on the audio equipment. That's one thing. And then during this time, when there is there will be moisture in the room, and that might cause some amount of, because the AC is not running, there's no air circulation, that might damage sometimes the speaker cones. So that has to be looked into. Whether the speaker cone, it might look neat and nice to, unless and otherwise you touch and check whether everything is perfect or not. So physically you need to check those speakers and on the stage speakers. As far as the high frequency is concerned, as high frequency drivers are concerned, there is no problem. Nothing much. You just need to check whether there is any rat which has gone into the hole of the high frequency unit, or any other reptile has gone into the hole of the high frequency unit. Apart from that, there's nothing which need to take care of the high frequency unit. The low frequency drivers are the ones which is more vulnerable at this point of time. So you just need to physically check the low frequency units. And secondly, before before connecting the equipment and switching on the amplifiers and things like that, you need to connect there is any short in the speakers, because some of the amplifiers will have short circuit protection, some of the amplifiers may not have short circuit protection. So you need to make sure that the speakers which are connected, those cables are shortless, basically, like they are not shorted or something like that. So that check has to be done, because it might be in between. The rats would have bitten the wires, and it would have gone into the conduit, and the rats would have bitten the wires, and that might cause a short. So those things have to be taken before switching on the amplifiers. So after checking that, basically check the complete rack for physical check whether everything is intact, or is there once again rat infestation or rat bite of the cables and things like that. So once that is made proper, then you can switch on the amplifiers and the cinema processor. So when you switch on the amplifiers, make sure that you switch on each amplifier, give a little bit of a pause, see whether the amplifier, there is no abnormalities in the amplifiers, and then switch on the next one. So don't switch on everything together, or don't switch on all the amplifiers with one breaker, which normally people used to do. No, don't do that. Prior to switching on all these things, you need to once again check whether your electrical circuitry and the electrical incoming power supply is proper, your UPS is functioning proper, and things like that. So post that, you need to check for the sound playback. Once your servers and the projectors, everything is in place and everything is checked and things like that, your environment of the projection booth has been completely checked. Basically, all the ACs are running, everything is running. Then you switch on the cinema processor, you switch on the amplifiers, and then you can play back the sound and basically check for each and every speaker playing back the sound. Once you check if there is any abnormalities, please call your sound engineer to do the needful. There might be a little bit of a change in the sound in some of the cinema theaters. So that might need some amount of recalibration. So your sound engineer can help you get the recalibration done. So that's all about in terms of sound. But basically, make sure that you don't switch on all the amplifiers together. That's the most important part, because after a longer time, you're switching on all the amplifiers, it might cause a surge into the UPS system or anything. So make sure that you switch on each and every amplifier separately with a pause in between, and then make sure that everything works fine, and then you connect with the other systems and check the sound. That's something for the sound. And when it comes to the outer side of the cinema complex, basically prior to all these things, we need to have biological safety. Biological safety is basically like you need to make sure that everybody who enters into the compound is well screened for physical wellness. So that you need to have your equipments correct, like for IR thermometer, you need to have some of the other systems, and make sure that everybody who comes into work are safe by wearing masks, face visors, head covers, which even covers the ears, and then your gloves, things like that. There are several videos in the in the YouTube for you to check on all those things. Today there is quite a lot of videos which is available in terms of safety aspects on YouTube. You can check that. For equipment cleaning, use recommended cleaning solutions. All the equipment which is to be cleaned and things like that, like Mr. Anmol said, what kind of a agent which need to be used for cleaning the equipment. And as far as the screen is concerned, as Sean said, like you need to make sure that recommended stuff is being used, because normally what happens is when you give somebody and go and clean it up and things like that, they will go generally do a cleaning which without any safety, or without any safety for the equipment, or without knowing what to be used on what equipment. There has to be a supervisor who supervises the people, so that they don't use a different kind of cleaning agent for the particular things. So that's one thing. Third thing is you need to thoroughly fumigate the place. Prior to fumigation of the place, you need to make sure that all your AC systems, your electrical systems, everything is being checked, because while you fumigate, if there is a rat inside, or if there is any reptile inside, and if it dies inside, then that will be a problem. So you just need to make sure that physically everything is checked, cleared, then completely fumigate the place and do a pesticide and things like that. For that, there are professionals who can do that job very well. So you need to call the professionals to do that job. And while fumigation, I would suggest that the AC system runs, so that the fumigation is complete, because the ducts are also fumigated correctly and things like that. The AC system runs, the theatre AC system runs in, so that it's the entire circulatory system is completely fumigated, and make sure there is no virus within the system. That's something which need to be taken care. And as I said, you have to make sure that everybody getting into the compound is well protected and well screened. Then make sure that all the debris and things like that are being cleaned properly. Don't leave any debris there and things like that. So all those things have to be cleaned properly. Make sure that the environment is very clean for public, because public when they come in and they see all things which is like debris and things like that there, means then they might not come. So that's something which you need to keep the premises as clean as possible. When it comes to car parking also, like your seating is being rearranged by Mr. Anmol, what he has said. Like that, you can even see whether the cars are being parked in such a way that at a time, two car owners don't get closer to each other in terms of while getting into the car or getting out of the car and things like that. So even car parking slots have to be staggered and done for a safety purpose. So as far as the concession counters and the lobby is concerned, it's as good as everything, like where you have to take care of the entire premises in a proper condition, where it's been well fumigated, disinfected, make sure everything is clean. Even the concession counters, make sure that people don't come closer. Probably you can extend the counter a little bit more and say that stop there, and payments can be received electronically and the content can be given at a distance. That also can be done. Or otherwise, they can just go to the seats and give them the stuff, instead of being in the concession counters queuing up and things like that. Then afterwards, coming to toilets and sanitary places, those have to be well taken care. Like that's something which you need to look at. Take the help of the professionals in that area. Make sure that your toilets are absolutely clean, your wash basins are absolutely clean. Find a methodology in such a way that people don't touch the taps. The automatic taps can be put in. The automatic soap dispensers can be put in, so that they don't need to touch the tap, or they don't need to touch the soap dispensers for anything. So even For that matter, there are sanitizers which are available where you just put your hand under the sanitizing this thing that will spray some amount of alcohol and you can go. So that also can be done. So these are the stuff which you need to look into, changing something inside the toilets for sanity purpose. So even for that extent, if, for somebody who uses the toilet, auto flush can be a better methodology rather than people putting their hand and pushing the button for flushing and things like that. So that is something which can be taken care of if you want to improve some stuff. Yes, of course, all these things are going to cost money. Unfortunately, yes, we are in the state where we need to look at all this cleanliness to make sure that there's no problems in the running of the theater later.
Thank you, sir. So I think we have covered most of the things, and this is not the end of this topic. Like we might come out with the different things and different spaces in the theaters. So let us take some of the questions from the Q&A. Mr. Suri, there is one question for you. Is this advisable to take out the IMBs from the projectors in this lockdown period?
Probably Ilam can give a better answer for that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Taking out the IMB is not recommended, but as I said in the beginning, you can do an power on in standby mode and make sure the IMBs are charged. You can go in our recommendation for each manufacturer what they have recommended. If you, for example, take Dolby, they have a good shelf life as well as GDC. So taking out of the IMB from the projector is not recommended. Thank you. Over to Raghav.
Okay. Next, Mr. Sriram is asking, hi Raghav, how is the temperature gate monitored to ensure that people who are not fine or not allowed into the cinema? So the videos what I showed is just a reference. It is not like we got some product, that kind of product in India, but one I showed is from Tirupur. So in some groups I was discussing, those temperature gate, somebody wanted to make that. It was costing something around 3.5 lakhs, 4 lakhs. And also that the sprayer bay, that one somebody quoted around 1.5 lakhs. So this is only for reference. So I think you need to contact that people who can do that for you. Next question is from Jitendra Verma. He's asking Mr. Anmol, we have reserved seats in our cinemas. Seats are pre-sold. Changing seat layout in every show won't be possible. Anmol, you want to tell something about this?
Yeah, of course. Well, of course, he's right in his particular query. It's difficult to alter the layout. So depending upon the type of layout that you use, you might have an occupancy of 25 or 30 or 40%. Ideally, in the weekdays, they can have a fixed predetermined layout because occupancy is lesser. Weekends, they can have the other option of layout. So by staggering the seats in order to maintain safety, the percentage can vary anyway, or the occupied percentage, that is the possibility of occupancy, keeping in mind the social distancing norms, can vary from 25% to 36%. So we have a calculation done up on that basis also. It's already been sent to you, Raghav, for you to upload in your system. So post that, anybody can just log into that and understand what sort of available tickets are there in case anybody wants to go in for option A, option B, option C, option D. But it will vary around between 25 to about 36%. But yes, there has to be predetermined. So in case there is an influx of patrons, they will have to refuse, keeping in mind safety norms. Question is very valid. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is to Mr. Ilam. Hello, Ilam, would you advise any specific spare parts to be kept at site before starting the procedure to get the projection equipment back to running condition?
Sure. Thank you, Raghav, for asking this question. Most of the multiplexes holds the emergency kit with them. And as far as concern for the single screen owners, the service providers used to keep the emergency kit with them. So I don't think it will be any failure when you're powering on. Of course, there will be a failure. The amount of failure may not be higher. So it's $1 million question, like when you're asking about keeping spares for individual theater, it's quite impossible, but having it in a region wise is recommended. Thank you. Over to Raghav.
Okay, there is one question from Mr. Prakalp. He says, should we do a trial run of few minutes, maybe half an hour every week?
Yeah, I would say that would be a good thing, provided basically if there is possibilities of people coming in and doing things. But one thing is to check the projection. It may not be just the projectionist. The electrical engineer should be there to check the electricity is proper, everything is in a condition where the equipment can be switched on and things like that. So that is something the theater owner has to take care of it.
Yeah, I think that's all from the Q&A. Okay. Hope we addressed all the points. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Suri, Mr. Ilam, Mrs. Shiran, and Mr. Anmol. We shall be coming with such maintenance webinar also in future. Our web webinar is going to be on single screen cinema focus. So for more details, keep visiting www.cineconf.com for more details. Thank you all again.